So next we're on to these ear posts. We're going to get this trim stripped back and then we'll repair this. Same other side. Mark's got the door stripped down, so he's going to get on with them next. Get these primed, get this primed, and then we'll get these painted tomorrow. Welcome back, and in the last video we sourced all the parts that we needed to repair this vehicle, the bumper, the dashboard, bonnet, everything. We then moved on to stripping the vehicle out, got the centre console out, got the dashboard all removed, and then we started putting in the new one, or the second hand one, from the donor car. All that's buttoned up now. We then moved on to the rear seats and the inner door cards, and then we also dropped down the headlining to gain access to all these airbags and seat belts. Got all those fitted in, and then we moved over onto the front bumper, so I got that all stripped down so that Mark could get it prepped, and we then got it primed, a bit of black on and a coat of lacquer just so we can make sure we don't miss anything. We did exactly the same with the wings, primed them, coat of black and lacquered. And this is where we left the car. This is all now interior, nice and finished, other than left hand side rear door card and that passenger seat because we needed a trim. So starting with these ear posts, what we need to do is get these door seals off, and we just need to pull that down away from the ear post, and then on the inside of this trim there's actually another little rubber that we just need to peel out so we can gain access to the rivets. As you can see here, I think we're just going to do these bottom 4 or 5 just so you can pull the trim away. So we're just going to drill these out now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull the trim away from the edge. And then I'm just going to put a bit of tape on here just to stop us from catching this while we're sanding. So because this is all aluminium that we're sanding, I'm using a 120. I think it's a Merkur Abranet 120. It costs I think 80, will damage the metal too much. We're just going to keep working at this until we feather these edges out, and it's just revealing a small shallow dent on that edge. You can do exactly the same on the other side, but this doesn't actually have a dent. This one just needs feathering out because it's just where it scratched it. Quick panel wipe up just to make sure we've not missed anything. So we've got the left side sanded up, and we've got the right hand side sanded with a little bit of filler in, or a little bit of stopper. We'll knock that off, scotch the air up, get it masked up and ready for primer. Mark's got the edge of the door prepped and he's just masking it up now. And whilst I'm waiting for this filler to dry on this air post, I thought why not pull this inner wing rail out while we're waiting. So what we've got here is I've made 2 plates that I could bolt through the end of this inner wing rail, and we're using the PowerTech pulling tower, and we're just going to put pressure on the end of this wing rail just to try and pull it back out again. Just do it nice and slowly, just to slowly tweak this back out again. And what we're going to keep doing is going to use the trammel gauge and keep measuring this until we know this is in the right place. So after asking a friend if he could send me the measurements for the front end of this car, thanks Phil, we can see where we need to be. All we have to do is measure between the holes, make sure it's the same measurement and it's square. Without these, we wouldn't have a clue what the front end was doing in terms of if it was square, if it was pushed over to one side or anything. So it's a vital part of the repair to make sure we're doing it correct. After measuring, we found that this is not in tolerance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the pulling tower so we're at a 45-degree angle to this inner wing rail and try and pull it across this little bit that it needs. It's only about 4mm out and the tolerance on these is 2mm, so it really is very little to pull. So as I slowly apply pressure to this wing rail, what you'll see is the front edge start to pull across and out, and then that tram gauge is getting closer and closer to that hole that Mark keeps missing, and we'll just keep doing this until we get these measurements right. Quick adjustment with the hammer there just to knock that high down, try and release some of the pressure, and then we need to go into that hole with the tram next. Hey presto, it's square. So now we've done that, we can use the hammer and dolly and planish all these areas up that are slightly bent and kinked. Just working backwards and forwards to make sure we don't create our own kinks either. Finishing off any crowns or high spots that there is anywhere. Same again using the punch upside down, nice flat dome on the back of it, and then finishing up this plenishing around this top piece here. I'm now happy where it's sitting and I'm happy how it looks, so let's move on to these A-posts again. So we've just pulled the car into the oven, we've got it masked up and now we're ready to prime it. So the offside A-post is done, tiny little bit of filler in those two little dents and we can get this primed up. And then the near side was literally just scuffed, taking the paint off the top, and that's ready to prime too. So get this oven fired up, throw some primer on these A-posts, and then we're on to the next job. So the first coat is etch primer, and then we're on to the filler primer. So we've got the A-post primed up now, let that bake off, and then we get it pulled out, sand it, and get it ready for paint. So Mark's got these doors ready now. He's used the UV primer and got the doors prepped. He's masked off the insides. So these are now ready to paint as well. So we'll give these a flick of black paint, blend it into the rest of the door, and then get them lacquered. So I've got this up in the air at the minute, and I want to check that both these legs are square to make sure that on the impact it's not pushed this front end across within the chassis itself. So I've got the tram gauge out and we'll get underneath the car and we'll have a look what we can get measured on. So looking under this car on the subframe, what I'm thinking is if we go off this rear subframe bolt and then go crossways, we can probably get up into this hole here in the end of this chassis leg, because there's one on this side and there's one on the other side. So if we can go crossways on and they both measure the same, then we know that both these chassis legs are straight. So let's get the trammel out and let's get that done. And if you're wondering what all the background noise is while I'm doing this, it's because Mark's in the oven painting the doors. So I've got the tram gauge set up. So I've got a 19mm socket, which will fit over that bolt on the subframe. And then on this end, what did I put on this end? Then this end we've got an 18mm socket. So that socket needs to go inside that big hole and fit snug. And then the 19mm socket needs to fit over that bolt on the subframe. And then both need to go in the corresponding holes. So I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this, but I'll give you a close-up in a minute. So I've got this end going on to the 19mm, which is on the subframe. And then this other end, if I get past these pipes, needs to fit up inside that hole in the chassis leg. So I'll just untighten that bolt there, put that inside the hole, and then I'm tightening that back off again. So as you can see, we've got the socket slid inside that hole in the chassis leg. And if I go underneath here, and you can see there, the 19mm is on the bolt for the subframe. So same again, I'm on that 19mm bolt, and then I slide up into the chassis leg. So as you can see, that slides in perfect into that hole. Come back down under here, and that's perfect on that 19mm. So that means that the chassis is straight, which is good. So now we know that the legs are square, we can put the front panel on and then start bolting some bits back on. Now I've checked all the front of this engine. I can't see anything that's damaged or looks like it's been pushed backwards. Everything's as it's meant to be. And all these sensors and wires, the aircon pump, everything looks like it's meant to be. And I don't think the damage actually got past this. I think all the damage was on this side here. So we've got this full donor rad pack kit. So what we're going to do is bolt this on next, and then we'll check to see if pulling this out has put it back in the right spot. Bloody heavy bugger, I know that. Not really sure why this piece was off. So I'll get the 30 torques put in it. And we put the big bolt in. Move on to these top ones now. As you can see, it's in the hole, perfect. And the left hand side too. So I'm happy with how that fits. We know the chassis isn't bent because we've measured it with the tram gauge. We know that the tops aren't bent because we've now got the second-hand front panel on, and that all lines up perfect. So I think what we can do now is connect all the pipes up, plug all the electrical connectors in, and then we'll get this auxiliary rad banged in, and then we get some coolant in it so we don't have to worry about it running too hot without any water in it. So that's what we'll do next. So Mark noticed that this left-hand side horn wiring's a bit damaged, so we've actually got the connectors from the donor vehicle. So what Mark's going to do is swap that over now, then we can get the horn plugged back in, and then I think that's the pedestrian sensor, so we'll get that one plugged back in as well. So what Mark needs to do is he needs to de-pin this damaged plug, and then de-pin the one that we have off the donor loom, and then repin it back onto this one, and then the plug will be able to be used as it was before. Door's finished, so Matt's got these painted whilst I was putting the front end back on the car. So that's another piece of the puzzle done. So now I've got all the front panel on, we can then get the chassis in. We'll paint those air posts where the damage was, and then we can put these bits back on now, put the doors on, wings on, and then we're getting somewhere. Nice. So just as I got this front end put on, the new inner quarter trim turned up. We'll get this cut out of this box and let's see what kind of fetal it's in. It looked quite good on the pictures on eBay, but as we all know, what looks good on the pictures isn't always the same when you get it. So this looks like it's been in a flood to me. You can see all the mud everywhere and dirt, which doesn't matter because it's plastic, it's not going to damage it, but we definitely need to clean this. So we're going to use the G101 again, spray this all over this trim, and then what we need to do is give it a really good scrub and get all of this muck out of all these little bits of texture in the plastic. There's quite a lot in that pocket actually, so I have to get the little detailing brush to get in there, the big one won't go in. Quick wipe off with the microfiber cloth, and then we need to blow all the water out of all the gaps. There's quite a lot came out of this actually. And then this is ready to go in the car. And the trim that we took out on the back of this. So we need to feed the seat belt through. There's two locators. Start from the top. Put the bolt back through for the seat belt. Can screw back in at the bottom as well. Lovely. And the last piece to go in on this interior is this lower piece. So there's two hooks that it slides into the trim first, pops in across the top of the sill. And again, last job. Seat the rubber back over the top of the trim. That's done. We'll tighten the seatbelt bolt up first, give this a quick hoover out, and then we'll put this other side seat in. In fact, no, we won't. We'll put the back seat in first and then put this seat in, just to make it easy for us. So the rear seat base, it's got these two hooks on the back of it, and they hook underneath this bar on the back seats. So what I'm going to do, put these seat belts in, just so we can hold the belt buckle up out of the way. And we'll just thread this back seat underneath them, like that, and then we just need to push up at the back of the seat and it'll lift those hooks up underneath the seat, like that. And you pop one, pop two, done. Onto the Isofix. That's all you do. Push it onto that little bar there. And just keep pushing it back until it jumps in. And that's it. Just do the same for the three. Have little pieces that go over the top. And same again. Goes onto the bar, clicks in. Onto the bar, click. So that's the rear seat's done, the rear trim's done. So next what we need to do is get this seat in. So that's all this wet vac now, and it's a lot easier to do when the seat's out obviously, so we'll get this seat banged in and then we're on to the exterior again then. No trims were harmed in the fitting of this seat. So Mark's got these ear posts painted now. He's flicked his blending just here, which once we polish it, he'll get rid of that, you won't even see it. Same on the other side. And then what we need to do next is get this trim riveted on. There's rivets all the way up this edge here, and we can get onto the doors. Clip this front edge in after. Final piece just to push the rubber back, put the trim back in the rubber. If you're wondering why I'm outside, because I've been kicked out of the workshop. Mark and Steve are getting on with the job, so that's why I'm kicked out. So we've got all the interior done, that's finished, buttoned up, jobbed. We've got the side trims back on, we've got the air posts painted, and it's starting to look good. I think we've got all the hard jobs done now. So what is next is, we need to get these doors on. So I'm going to start with the driver's door, because the driver's door's got all the electrics to work, the passenger side door, so we'll get this driver's door hung first, get the electrics working, and then we'll hang the other door after that. Like that. That's one door on. We can now shut this door. Right, we'll get the near side one, get that put on next. So luckily these are aluminium, so they're nice and light to do it on my own. So we just drop them onto the hinges. There's 2 grub screws which you tighten up in the hinge, and then 1 Torx bolt which goes onto the check strap. Plug the electrics in, and that's it, your door's on. So we've got this side door on. All the interior is now built up at this side as well. We've got all the backing. We have the air post finished. I've just fitted this wing bracket that Mark just painted for me and bolted that up. And then I've also just put the Bowden cable for the bonnet underneath that front piece there. It's coming on well. So in the morning we'll get these doors built up, and then from the bulkhead backwards, that is that part of the job finished. So Mark's moving on to building this door up, starting with the glass. We'll drop that in first, get it bolted up, and then he'll move on to the mirror next. Thread that huge wire all the way through the door, which goes right to the very back of the door. On with the door card. Jobbed.
I'm in the car. Shut it. Mission on, and check everything works. So window up, back down, window back up, locks, unlocks, and then check your mirror, which it does work. So I'll move it so Michael can't see where he's going. I would try that window, but there's no point because it's not built up yet, but it does work. So all in all, that's how one door is fitted up.
So at the back end of last week, a company called Kingbolen got in contact with us. They'd seen some of our videos and they liked what they were doing. So they asked us if we'd like to review one of their diagnostic dongles. Now, I'd never heard of Kingbolen in my life, so I went straight on Google, did a little bit of searching to see what I could find, and this is what I found. So, who here's heard of a company called Kingbolen? No, me neither until this week. So Kingbolen reached out to us this week and asked if we would like to do a review on one of their eDiag tools. Now, I'm not really someone to do reviews, but I said I would use it within this video on the Audi to show if it would delete all these fault codes that we've got. And because I didn't know who they were, I decided to do a little bit of research on them and find out a bit more about the company. And what I found out was they're a company in China who manufactures their own diagnostic tools, and they're also one of the main distributors for people like Launch and other high-end diagnostic tools that we've all heard of. Like one of the big ones being Autel. So the tool that Kingbolen wants to send me is the Ediag Elite, which is a bi-directional scanner which plugs straight into your OBD in your car. So I've heard of the Carleys and all those different types of dongles, but I've never heard of Kingbolen or Ediag Elite. So I was intrigued to see what it could do. Let's have a look. So it came in the post today. It was in packaging, but obviously I've taken the packaging off. So you can see it's the Kingbolen Ediag Elite. It's got a lot of different information on the back of it and things, but pull the little tab. You've got a little protective case on the inside, and you've got instruction booklets, a couple of QR codes to scan. One gets you the app on your phone, the other one actually activates the unit. So the little Kingbolen case, actually it's hard on the outside to stop it from being damaged if it gets squashed or crushed. I'm actually looking at it. It's not a bad little bit of kit looking at it. It's pretty robust. Obviously it's plastic because what isn't nowadays, but yeah, I think what we'll do, I've already downloaded the software and I've already updated the firmware on this. So the ultimate test is putting it on this Audi TT. So what my thought pattern is, let's see how much this can read and how many of the faults that it can delete and what it can't. So just as a reference point, I've already had the Snap-on Solus Plus on and I've done a complete code read on the car already, and that's brought up 147 faults on this vehicle as it sits now. We've got the battery support unit plugged in, as you're supposed to do when doing anything diagnostic wise, positive, negative, and that'll pump in a constant 13.5 volts, which is what the systems need within the vehicle so we don't fry anything basically. So first things first, let's get this plugged in. So on the TT, the OBD port's just under here, so what we're going to do is take the dongle, just plug it straight in, and it gives you an audible beep and that little light turns green. So what we do next is we open up our eDiag app on our phone, and then we turn on the ignition but don't start the engine. So we've got our battery support unit on, so that's going to pump 13.5 volts in, so the car won't want to turn off. So now the car's on, what we're going to do is we're going to press go on all systems diagnostic. It brings up this little box here, and then all we're going to do is press vehicle scan. So we've got the pedestrian sensors plugged back in, we've got horns in, we've got the rad fans, all that sort of stuff is now plugged in, so hopefully it should delete a lot of the things that were unplugged, so things that we've generated by disconnecting things basically. So clear fault memory completed. So wow, it's deleted a lot of them. So let's now do another health report and see what faults come up this time. Right, so going back through with another health check, we can see we have climate control, we know that because we've got no gas in. Electronic central electrics, wherever the hell that is. Airbags, we've still got 5 DTCs. We've got the data bus interface, OBD. We've got headlamp control, which we know because headlights are plugged in. Informational electronics. Let's just have a look at airbags quickly and see why it's giving us airbag faults. So DTC, let's have a look. Pedestrian protection trigger 1, resistance too high, active. Pedestrian protection trigger 2, I know why that is, because the bumper's not put on. So the pedestrian sensors go into the crash absorber, which gets put onto the back of the bumper, so that's why they're still pinging up. I've also got the 2 sensor open circuit on the bonnet hinges. Yeah, so I'm not bothered about them. But the good thing is everything inside the vehicle is deleted. Climate control, we know we've got no aircon gas in at the minute. So read the DTC. Refrigerant pressure too low. Yeah, we know that, so that's an easy fix. We've then got central electronics. Read the DTCs. So left module, left for daytime running light and parking lamp supply. So we've got left headlamp, right headlamp, they're not plugged in. Again, very easy. Headlamp range control, same reason. Read the DTCs. Crash shut-off active. So clear fault code, yes. Fault code cleared. Read DTC, yes. Crash shut-off active. So this is where this tool might come unstuck. And then DTC, because this might have the same functionality as what the bigger, more expensive ones can do. Read DTC. Interference for external media, no communication. I don't actually know what they mean. So we're going from 147 faults down to 12, which I would say was pretty bloody good. So because we've still got loads of things disconnected, there's obviously still faults coming up on this. What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and delete everything off this vehicle just using the app and this eDiag tool and see just how good it is. I think we might come unstuck with the airbags because I think we might have to reset everything, but we're going to have to use the snap-on for that. But let's get all of the airbag related things connected first and then do another test and see what it brings up then. The active status I think is still to do with the pyro fuse and the battery. I'm not 100% on that, but that's what I would think it was. There's a few others on there I'm going to have to do a bit of research on because I don't understand what they are. But so far it's going in the right direction. So in terms of a diagnostic tool, is it a professional level software? Probably not. But let's face it, it's read all of the faults the snap-on could read, and it's deleted all but 12 of them, albeit some of them are present because we know parts are missing. If we can delete 95% of them, I would say we're doing pretty well. So if we go into some of the other functions, you can see there's some maintenance software as well. So we can do things like oil maintenance resets, we can do immobiliser resets, there's electronic throttle, ABS bleeding, brake resets, DPF regens, there's TPMS reset, we've got steering wheel reset, we've got injector coding, gearbox relearns, we've got battery matching, so some cars with the fancy batteries, you have to match the battery to the vehicle, almost like coding it to the car I suppose. EGR adaptation, we've got sunroof initialisation, we've got air level calibration, so that's on your things like your Range Rovers or Rolls Royce, that sort of things. So you'll calibrate the height of the airbags, and adaptive front lighting. So I think for the price, as a DIYer, why wouldn't you have something like this sat in your glove box? That you could just delete faults, read faults. You could be sat at the side of the road broken down, you could read the fault, delete it, the car might start again. Why wouldn't you have something like this sat in your glove box? Is it professional level? I'm not sure yet. I'm going to try and delete all the fault codes off this vehicle using only the eDiag from Kingbolen. If it doesn't, I will say it hasn't done it. Maybe even the Snap-on or the Hella Gutman one won't do it either, but we'll get as far as we possibly can using this Kingbolen, and let's do an honest review of it. And the beauty of this is you can just put it back in its little protective case, throw that straight into your glove box. You can take that anywhere you want with you. You've already got your phone with you, so throw it in your glove box. Anything happens, any faults come up, you can just read them, delete them, and maybe it'll save you from being towed or having to wait for the AA and you manage to get home. So today is the 19th of June, it's my birthday and I'm 40 today, and what better birthday present than from you guys and giving me 1,000 subscribers. It's actually 1,188 to be precise, but yeah, what a birthday present. 6 weeks we've been doing this now. I couldn't believe when we got to 100, so to have over 1,000 already in 6 weeks is just crazy. So thanks to all you guys. Let's keep going with this. Hopefully it goes somewhere good. I think we are now 2,000 hours off the channel being monetized. We've hit all the other milestones, so yeah, let's keep pushing on. Let's get this car done. There's only 2.5 weeks to Goodwood. So that's all I've got time for in this video. If you've liked this, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. 90% of you that watch this aren't even subscribed, so get subscribed, then you're notified every time we put a video on. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.